I know. Bringing on another therapist. I know people. We talk about it all the time, the mindset, the money, the budget, etc. First of all, the ones I bring on, like Ashley Kwam, are amazing. So is Rachel Duncan. She's going to have a different spin. A little bit of art. How does art heal us? That's what we're going to go through today. And what hills she likes to die on. So without further ado, Rachel, welcome to the show. And why don't you download us with one, how you got to where you're at, but also what the Money Healing Club podcast is about and where you see that going here in the future.
Thanks so much for having me, Stoy. And I got to say, we could all use more therapists in our lives. So I hope I don't tip the scales too much, but thank you. So yes, I am a financial therapist and art therapist, and I co-founded the Money Healing Club, which is at moneyhealingclub.com. And it's a group membership where I teach both the nuts and bolts of personal finance to folks who've been really avoiding it, as well as get into sort of using our emotions, working with our emotions to get better with money instead of compartmentalizing them or shoving them down. And one of the ways I do that is through creative exercises. So first, it seems like, what do art and money have to do with each other? Like, it seems like nothing. But the way I do it, we can really explore the sort of felt experience of money, because money just is emotional. It's actually the first line on my website. It just is emotional. So let's work with it instead of pushing it down.
What got you into that game? Like, I know you weren't a little kid going, financial therapist is the way to go, although
Right.
It's never a thing for us back then either. So how did you get into this world?
Oh, well, it's the tale of two passions. I always loved like counting my pennies and getting odd jobs. And there was a joke in my family that, at age 11, I had more in my savings account than most members of my family. Like, I just really liked watching my money grow. I liked working. I really liked making the rolls of coins to take into the bank account, memorizing my bank account number. I just was interested in all that stuff. However, I also was always super into the arts, music, visual art, all of that. So I was one of those like well-rounded kids. I sort of was good at many things. It was really hard for me to pick actually anything. So it's like in science, I was super into math and science. In high school, I was really into math and science. And then in college, I actually majored in religion because I was kind of going through a spiritual thing. So it's just sort of been all of these things. I've been like a bookkeeper and then an art teacher and a preschool teacher. And then I went to grad school in therapy. Or in art therapy specifically. But I don't know. I was just always that weirdo artist who was like really comfortable with money and like understood insurance. And like, I did a lot of HR work. Like, I understand, like I can write in legalese very easily and then switch into like poetry. So in a lot of ways, it kind of tormented me, because I realized like, what's the thing? It would actually be easier if there was just like one thing, but I sort of loved all of it. And in the pandemic, I had to close my private practice in art therapy. And there had been a couple high profile articles about financial therapy. I think it was in the New York Times and NPR maybe. And so some friends forwarded them to me. Like 2 friends sent me the same article, like, I think this is you. So this is like kind of deep into 2020. And I was like, what? I didn't know I'd be allowed to do that. Because I was always the weird therapist who like enjoyed talking about billing rates and insurance reimbursement and career counseling and stuff like that. But I was pretty much dissuaded, from that. There was like no pathway. So when I heard that financial therapy was a thing, I was like, maybe I don't have to juggle all of this or choose nothing. Maybe I could actually combine it. So I got trained up. It was super easy. I was like, well, this is obviously it. And ever since I said I'm a financial therapist, everything has clicked together. And I feel like I am in a niche instead of being all spread out. So kind of a long answer to your question, but bringing in like the financial sort of coaching part came really easily to me, because it's like what I've been doing personally in my personal finance. But then like, oh, wow, how can I bring in my therapy and my art therapy training into the topic of money? And it's been such an exciting and creative and very healing experience for both me and my clients.
It's amazing. And I love your passion. Obviously, I'm a money guy. I love money. People have passion about money, but more along the lines of using like what your experience, what you're comfortable with, who you are, to help teach others. And I really, truly believe our industry has done a really, 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 really shitty job since the creation of it, of meeting people where they're at and connecting their passions, their joys, their experiences to how they can learn the money game, and become and get ahead, right? It's always been about, hey, give us your money, we'll put this in this investment, we'll get you 100,000% return, whatever the hell it is, right? It's always been about like getting money, return of money, getting money, return of money. This is what you're supposed to do at this age. You're supposed to have this much money at retirement, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and I'll add, and it's just for these people.
Yes.
Right? These people who look like us, which tends to be the white guys, you know, and the boomers. And so it's like a lot of us have just simply felt left out. Also, like I was told when I had I was so proud I'd saved $1,000. I was like 24. I walked into a bank. What do I do with my money? And I was told I don't have enough money to do anything with my money. And it was I think back on that time, what a missed opportunity for that person to have a conversation with me. So I shut up about it for the next 8 years. I'm like, well, clearly I don't have enough money to get any help with this. You know? And I mean, it's such a disservice, like where so many folks are just left out. I feel like, oh, that's not my thing. Especially I work with a lot of folks who are creative, neurodivergent, all this stuff like, oh, I'm the one in my family who's quote irresponsible with money. And then that like badge stays with you. And then we all have to interact with money. So it's so unfair to say, well, that's not for me. This is one of these topics we just don't have that luxury of saying that's not for me because we all have to do something with our money.
We do. And we've been so misappropriated, misled because we haven't had the diversity in industry. We just haven't. I wrote an article for an Investment News, about DEI, and it's been blown up. And in my community, I've gotten attacked by the old white advisors, of course, right? I mean, who else was going to come at me? And their whole thing is like, well, DI really doesn't do anything, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is the simple fact. And there's like 4 or 5 of them have responded publicly that had said, I only want to hire someone based upon their performance, their merit, and all that stuff. And I said in my article and subsequently, yes, I'm a former college athlete, right? I played football. I understand performance, competitiveness, and merit. We all need to have merit. You can't just go off willy-nilly and do this. However, you can't get into the game to even show your merit right now. There is advisors and people in other industries and et cetera that are not even allowed to get into the game, let alone the training or the practice for the game, to show that they have the merit and they can perform. And that's the problem. And people with money only usually truly really want to work with people that are like them, whether that's, they physically look like them, sound like them, or believe in the things they believe in. Tell me if this is true, but I'm pretty sure like the 80% of the old white dudes that are advisors don't make up 80% of this country.
Absolutely.
Right? So what are we really doing?
And I've had so many clients tell me when I've asked them like, oh, why did you use me? Like, you seemed nice. You seemed like a warm person, not like just nice, but like you actually seemed like someone who I could have a kind conversation with about money. You looked non-judgmental. I recently had a member who's a person of color say, you look like you're not racist. And this person said, I have been looking for someone in finance who was a woman of color and actually couldn't find them. And then I said, I am a white person. And said like, well, she'll do. But I really appreciated that like my branding and it showed and my authenticity and who I am and my character in there is that like, I'm going to be a person who can have tough conversations. I'm a person who has a wide and accepting personality. Also that I'm just kind. I bring a lot of humor into my work. It's very light. It's fun as well as deep and emotional. And there's a lot of folks who need that, where the idea of sitting down and talking to someone about money is like, I'd rather put pins in my eyes. And I do my best to make the vibes good. So like, that's a lot of the feedback I get is like, your vibes seem good.
Well, and I've done a bunch of studying and data on this, both from just out there and asking people, because it comes down to there's 2 types of people in this world I have found, and only one type of person I allow on this podcast anyway, but there's 2 types of people. You either care about people or you care about money. That's it. It's as simple as that. And some people are like, well, I do both. You can't. You can care about people and still make good money. However, if you only focus on money, you're not taking care of people. There is no overlap to that. It's literally, truly one or the other. And that's what people see out of you. That's what I felt. That's what I see, right? Is because you care about people. You're not sitting here going, man, I just want to make $1 million this year or whatever number may be off of people. No, I want to help as many people as I can with what I'm good at. Yes, they have to pay for that, but it's not because that's what I'm wanting to do. And so that's one of the hills that I will die on as well, is that there's only 2 people in this world. And in my opinion, there's no room for people that only care about money. That's one of my hills. So what is one of your hills that you will die on.
Okay, my pet peeve is the word abundance.
I like that.
God, it is thrown around in my audiences so much. And my pet peeve is that it's not that I don't agree with abundance, that's great. But what are we saying? What are you saying when I just want to manifest abundance? So, I tend to work with a lot of women, millennials. That's very much like the lingo that we use. And there's a couple of things I feel it's just not specific enough, right? Are you talking about having more income? What income level? Like I kind of push folks to a little more specificity. And and I think the word, relates to kind of like, hey, I need to shift my mindset to be more open to things. I'm all about that. That's great. The thing that the layer of the word abundance that I don't love is I hear, I want to have so much money I don't have to think about money anymore. It's like, are we talking about having your safety and basic needs met first and being able to have like a lifestyle that you really enjoy? So then we need to get a lot more specific about what that means and from both the numbers and what that lifestyle looks like. And also, guess what? The more money you have, actually, the more time you have to spend with it. Now, granted, yes, you might be at a point where I'd love to not worry about where my rent check is coming from. Absolutely. I want you to not have to worry about that anymore. But what's interesting is the more wealth we gain, actually, the more time you have to spend with it. It's not less. So I kind of feel like there's a little bit of like, I'd love to have so much money I can really avoid it. And that's not real. So I just feel like I love the intention of it and the mindset, and I want to accept money, especially for folks who've been maybe chronically under earning or folks who've been marginalized, have never received much money. Totally. But abundance just doesn't say enough. It feels too magical to me. And money's not magical. It's just not magical. So I don't know. What do you think? That's my hill.
I could not agree more, really. One, I loathe money. I really wish we didn't have a money system, the whole wealth. I wish it wasn't here. Really do, because it just creates just more issues, terrible people, etc. When people say, I don't want to live in the scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, those types of things. I mean, I've used them myself too, but to the credit of what you are talking about, the majority of people don't know what living with money is like because of two reasons. One, their family have never had it. They've never learned it. It's never been taught. It's not in social media. Two, because those that are truly wealthy and they don't worry about it. And yes, those listening, air quotes. Those
Air
were air
quotes, air
quotes.
quotes.
Is they show that they don't care and they don't worry about it and they don't have to think about it. Right? That's what they show. But inherently, every ultra wealthy person I know has more anxiety and more troublesome with their money than someone who's living paycheck to paycheck, because those people are working hard and they know exactly what's going on and they try to relax. The ones that have the most money are always doing something. There's always this next thing. There is this, there is that, there is this. And then it starts growing and growing and growing. And now you have 50 different things in 50 different places. And yeah, you might have a team that you hire and stuff to deal with it, but you have so much more going on because you have to have so much more going on that it creates this whole different lifestyle that those that are living paycheck to paycheck wish they just had enough to get there, truly don't understand that. And I think there's a happy medium. I really do, that we need to get people to, but we need them to be real about what that is. We need them to be real with what they want, how they perceive it, income level, the things that you just talked about. But also we need the others to be more transparent about actually how life is going and how, unorganized they feel and all those things too. Because ultimately, across the board, we all feel very much the same. It's just a different set of issues and circumstances. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, I wish I had those circumstances and $100 million. Yes, this is true. We all do. But you don't. And how realistic is you getting $100 million based upon where you're born, what your degree is, where you're at? It isn't. So what is for you? And I think that goes back to what you're talking about of what income level, what are your goals, what are your things you want? Because there's only a truly realistic number that you can get to without it fundamentally changing who you are and going to the I care more about money and less about people type situation.
And I feel it leads to a really fruitful conversation about lifestyle inflation, lifestyle creep. And, what I see is a lot of folks I work with are under earning. Like, yes, you do absolutely need more money, right? To get to a point where you've got some savings where you can pay for your medical, right? Like, so I kind of see this graph going where, okay, we need more money for your lifestyle. And then at a certain point, though, we need to uncouple your income from your living expenses. Now, where that point is different for everybody. And that point has gotten higher and higher over the years. And I would say that's kind of where we're talking about more this this comfortable level of happiness, right? Wherever that is. And now I uncouple it, where the amount of money I make has no relation to what I am spending on my life, because that gap, the more I can increase that gap between my income and expenses, that is where true wealth happens. That can't happen to a certain point, like where you might be kind of spending what you're making as you make more to be able to afford a good life and also start to save and things like that. So that can take a while. But then there's that tough conversation, because we call it lifestyle creep for a reason. It sneaks up out of nowhere about your wants becoming your needs. And it's a creepy, sort of insidious thing that comes up over life. I have worked with folks who make multiple six figures and live paycheck to paycheck because of the lifestyle creep. So there's, I do think it's like, okay, let's back up a little bit. It's hard to deflate your lifestyle. I will say it's possible, but that's hard. But if you can kind of look ahead, okay, at that income level, I think we're good. I want to say that is in my head what my salary is, or my spendable, the money I can spend, and anything above that is I have a plan, right? And I've talked to an advisor or whatever, and I'm putting money into that. So, that's a little bit of like, let's get a little more specific, because hey, if you don't watch it, all that money you're going to make, you will spend. You just will spend if you don't have some kind of plan for that.
And that's really the hardest thing for people, is if they see it, they will spend it. And there's one thing that we do within someone's budget allocation that is different. I can't wait to see, one, your reaction, but you get your opinion on this too.
Tell me.
Because there's really two things that I do for our budget, but this one specifically is we create a new line item and we call it fun money.
Oh, yeah.
This line item.
I have a tab in my spreadsheet called fun money.
Love it.
Same line, yes.
Love it. This fun money amount, obviously don't make it $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, right? It should just be $20, $50, $100, whatever fits your budget, that you literally can go burn if you want to. Go do whatever you want with it. I don't care if you cut it up into a million pieces. I mean, please don't. I feel like there's better uses. But that's what it needs to be for, because we are humans. We have this impulse. We have this, retail therapy. We have this thing that when we buy something, it makes us feel good at that moment. And you have to be able to do so. If you build that in, then that has that flexibility built in. You're not going to go try to pull it from somewhere else. And then when you do that and you go over budget somewhere else, then it starts to spiral. But if you have this fun money, it gives you that ability to go spend however you want.
Because think about like, we're sort of this vessel with all of this stress. And it's like, the more you tell yourself, no, 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 then you're going to break out of that and do something potentially really destructive. So having a fun money set aside, it's like a little pressure valve to release. So impulse spending is the number one issue my clients, my club members come to me with. They really feel like they feel out of control with it. They don't know where their money's going. It is, I see it, I buy it. And they really have a ton of shame around it. They often have, a lot of my folks are millennials. So they've got these boomer parents who, it's because of all your lattes. And so there's also like inter-family, fighting and things like that. But I'm all about that, because if we just restrict, guess what? It stimulates the addiction cycle. And it mimics the diet cycle, the addiction cycle, all of this stuff. So this is a framework I teach a lot, is that I'm putting in air quotes, relapse, the fuck it moment that everyone describes it the same way, the fuck it moment. I'm less interested in the fuck it moment. I'm more interested in what was going on before that. Right? Oh, I was like I had a fight with my parents, or I was like, I spent all weekend getting this old thing organized. Or I really told myself I wasn't going to eat out this month, right? This like super restrictive, unrealistic, like denial and restriction. And then guess what? I blinked out and apparently I bought a ticket to Paris, right? And so actually, the more we are aware of this cycle, how human it is, the cycle gets less and less dramatic every time we go around it. Actually, one little hack I love, you can share this with your clients, I love pre-purchasing a gift card. So it's like, okay, this is my fun money. It's a, Target or Sephora or whatever it is. Buy yourself a gift card. You've spent it already. And then it's really fun. Then you make a plan for it. So I say plan for the impulse, which kind of seems like, a contradiction in terms, but like, and you enjoy it so much more. I got $100 on this thing. I'm just going to go for it, right? It's already spent. You have that great time, right? There is kind of a ceiling on it. And then people end up gamifying it, which is really fun. And for folks, I think this is true for a lot of folks, but especially those with ADHD, the gamification really works. What's the best stuff I can get for under this threshold? That's the dopamine working. That's the thrill of the hunt. And it's a much more satisfying experience than like, just little impulse spending here and there. And then I feel shitty afterwards. Like if you plan for that impulse, if you pre-purchase it, it can actually feel so much better and it starts calming the desire.
And then it puts everything else into line. It really does. Like
it really does.
Once we implement it, people actually we're able to reduce overall budgets because of it. And I'm not talking about the overage of the budget. Like I'm talking about our budget line that we set, even though they go over, we're able to reduce that because of that, right? It takes a lot of those, I don't want to say impulses from everything else, but it takes away that like, I really needed that, or I really want that, or I deserve that, right? Even within that budget, it just takes kind of all of that away and allows them to be free. And ultimately, that's what I really want from clients. And I know you do too, is I call it cash flow flexibility, the ability to have movement and flexibility within your money to adapt to those cycles, because those are real. This is no one on this planet that I know anyways, is so rigid with their budget that every month is the exact same thing. They feel the same. The weather's the same. Everything's the same.
Those people don't come to us, Stoy. I think they're out there and they don't seek help.
Exactly. It's just not out there. So you have to have that flexibility. And I really believe that that's a key point to it. So.
And because it dispels shame. I think that's the big thing, right? Especially if a lot of my folks have never talked with any adult about their money, like maybe other than some fights with their parents. So I'm like the first one. So to give that kind of allowance, like, of course you need some fun money. Oh my God, now I can breathe. I can be a person. I could like go spend $100 on yarn if I want to. Yeah. Do you, man? I am more concerned about how you feel about you than what I feel about you,
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. What's another hill?
Well, this one's a more practical side, not less therapy side. It's just that people got to get off the whole points thing. Credit card points just aren't worth it unless you are in the pay it off in full every month club. The points are a gamification again, but towards really negative habits. I've got some clients who really didn't understand how little value the points were that they had. And keeping credit cards open with annual fees that they couldn't swing because of the points. And, it's gambling in action. And I would say, I think points should be a lovely little celebration for paying off your credit card in full. It's not worth it otherwise to be accruing points, unless you're really on top of your cash flow game. So I try to get back from that. And I know debit cards are problematic. I know they are insecure, but I do offer to my clients have a couple months of debit card spending months to get used to what their actual cash flow can afford, and then get back into the credit card use that's a more responsible credit card use. So just don't be attached to the points, y'all. It's not worth it until you really got your arms around your cash flow.
And it really isn't because of the interest rates.
Exactly.
Truly.
It's going to blow everything. It's like points is just like they're pennies on the dollar. You compare that to 28% interest rate, just don't.
Right? Why do you think credit cards incentivize you people for points, right? It costs them nothing. Yeah. And they earn so much more money on it because you like to hold onto the interest rates, and we got interest rates 17 to 25%. Yeah. That's where they get you. Now, back to your point, unless you really understand how to utilize it and set it up. Like, for example, a lot of business owners or those others that you can have automatic bills on and you're just using as points. Perfect. Then set up to auto pay with it. That way it's just money in, money out. You're just using the account for protection and points. That's it. Literally nothing else that you have to do. The caveat to that is you need to look at the transaction fees, because a lot of places now pass that on to you. 3.5%. I'm sure it's getting higher as we speak, but they pass that on. It's not worth it for the points, because the points don't equate to 3.5%.
Never.
They just don't. They never will.
No.
It'll never happen. So just be really, really smart people out there, because you're gonna get into that credit card hole, and then we're talking about a whole different game, right? Gamification. Now we have to play a different game, and now we got to get you out of debt, and we have to figure out that situation. So I like that.
Yeah. And plus, the points are often what you can use them for is so restrictive. And like, we actually don't travel much in our family. And if we do, like, we want a lot of control over how we travel. So we only do cash back. And so when we like cash that out a few times a year, then maybe we'll put that in a travel fund and we just cash it out. So yeah, we're going on a huge trip this summer. And I had do you have points? Like, no, we've just been collecting cash for the last few years, and that has paid for it. So then we can decide exactly what flights we want with the carrier. So, it depends. That's our thing, because we're not big travelers. So I also think, like, know yourself. Like, I think there can be a lot of restrictions with these points that might not suit your life. And I don't know, I'm a big proponent of just that straight up cash.
That cash flow flexibility, having the
Yes.
ability to be flexible. It's a massive thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been through what we've done on our hill. We've been through your club, all those great things. Now we get to like my special 2 questions.
Ooh, okay.
And these are always fun, although you kind of hit upon the first one, so we'll see where this goes. But what is your first money memory?
Such a classic therapist question, Stu. I love it. Well, I have many, because I've thought about this a lot, because I've asked many people this question too. One of my first ones was, my dad always did taxes, and this is back in the 80s, so it's all paper and pencil. And he had, one of those great old calculators with the paper tape. It was like really clickety clackety, and it would like really be noisy when it printed out. And he'd be sitting down, and he'd invite me over, and I got to run the calculator. And so he would tell me, add this and then add this and subtract this and, percentages. I mean, such great, like, basic math. And so I think just like the sensory experience, I was just obsessed with office supplies. So like, just the calculator is so great. But what I realized, I really do appreciate my parents. They were not great with money in all respects, but they really involved me in like, in the process. And it was very lean times. And, they would say, hey, we've got $50 to spend at the store today. Can you help me keep track? Right. They would involve me in it, or they would say, that's just not something we can do this month, because we had to replace the brakes in the car. But also just including me in the taxes, like making it a really enjoyable experience for me. And I was, maybe 10 or something, and that it was something that I could do and wasn't scary. I think just on this subtle level, I can see how that paved the way for my work now, because it was like, hey, you just sit down with a calculator, like you pretend you're a grown up and you just kind of make it a nice time, and it's something you get through, and it's maybe not the best thing ever, but it's not the worst. And my dad just made it really sweet and fun, as well as serious, so that's an early memory.
When you look back on that, how has that molded you, and how does it represent it into you today where you're at?
Like that experience. I think I bring a lot of what my dad brought, of like, hey, let's sit down. It's all good. You're good. Check it twice. And also, right, he taught me to like run it 3 times, right? It's like, it's okay. If you make a mistake, it's just fine. Like, this is life, and you keep redoing it, and we're in this together. And I think that's very much my belief about money, is that we got to be in this together. We got to be kind about it, and really like forgiving of mistakes. And it's also just possible. It's just a sheet of numbers you can add up or do whatever with. And yes, there's times to get help, and there's also a lot you can do on your own. And you don't have to go to an advisor for everything. And I think just like having more positive conversations, more positive experiences with money starts to, it heals the trauma, and it makes you believe that it's something you can do. So that's something I think I've carried from my dad. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. All right, last question. What is one thing you want to leave our listeners with that they can implement today and start their journey, or improve where they're at in their journey?
Well, I'd love to know if people want to use the gift card thing. I do love that. That's
Yep.
I love it. Little hack. But I think on a much bigger scale, journaling has just proven to be an incredible tool for folks. And I'll share my favorite journaling prompt, which is you sit down and you write "Dear Money," and you write a letter to money, and you let it out. Like all the complaints, all the 4-letter words, the questions, the frustration, the admiration, whatever it is, whatever's true for you. And you write a letter to money. And then you take a minute and you turn the page, you open a brand new page. and you write money's letter back to you. And you start it with something sweet, dear Lovey, dear Stoy. And if I know it might seem weird, it's actually pretty surprising how easy it is to get into this. And you write money's letter back to you. And it's quite a journey. It's quite emotional. And I think y'all might be surprised, pleasantly surprised with what money is like when you open up a direct line of communication with it instead of it going through somebody else. When you have a direct line of communication with the money, its character tends to be really compassionate and kind and creative and forgiving, but also boundaried, won't put up with your shit, wants to be closer to you, wants to be friends, wants to work together. Like, I have run this, I'm not kidding, hundreds of people. I do this in workshops, I do this individually, and more often than not, those are the qualities of money when we open up a direct line to it. And these are even like people who are full on traumatized about money. Oh, it was that person or that situation that was traumatic. Not money itself actually really wants to work with you. So it's a wonderful thing that I use myself all the time, and I do a lot of workshops with it, and it can start to create this like beautiful direct line. And then when you have like a financial decision coming up or you're frustrated with yourself, write to money and have money write back to you. It will help you decide what to do. It knows. And if you can slow down and ask it, there's incredible wisdom that's already all within you about maybe a direction you need to take or something you need to choose to do.
Love that. Love that exercise. I'm about to start doing that one.
Ooh, I want to hear your letters back.
Yes, I'm going to start doing that. Well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate everything that you do, both with the Money Healing Club, but also just in general.
Thank you.
The spirit in what you have is truly warming, and I'm so glad that I have someone else that I can relate to and be a resource in this fight against, I don't know what we're fighting, but I know it's not what we need to be doing right now, and our industry needs to improve, and I'm just glad that you're part of that.
I appreciate so much being on the podcast. You've given me also podcast inspiration for my podcast, so thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.